Welcome to Brutally Honest Talk Radio, where you will learn about an issue minus the BS. We don't always say what you want to hear, but what you need to hear about the issues of the day. Here's your host, Inger, along with Elmo, with his political insight and commentary.
And we got another great show. It's packed. It's been over a week since the last one. And we might need to get an additional website called youcan'tmakethisup.com filled with stuff.
That's funny.
So if you don't know what we're talking about, if you're new to the show, just wait, because we talk about news and politics, but we don't have to make it entertaining because the Democrats are doing that for us. We just wind them up and let them go. And just what they do, it's brought to you by Barnum and Bailey. What can I say?
Get the popcorn.
Man, oh man, oh man, oh. Hey, we're going to start off talking about the NAACP. For those of you under 25, the NAACP, there's something in the archives and the relics, acronym standing for National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. They haven't upgraded or updated this thing to the NAABP because that might mess with their money. But a colored person is what we were before we were African American and before we were black and before we were Negroes. You know, we got more names, our people, than any other group, just, you know, in history over the last 7,500 years.
That's so true.
So they're supposed to be black leadership in a group, like the name says, for the advancement of colored people, for our people. But they rarely speak to us with what's going on now, with race being in the news so much, and so much upheaval and controversy with Black Lives Matter and violence and conflict between blacks and the police. The NAACP is mute. Just like when you hit the mute button on a microphone, somebody needs to unmute them. They might also be deaf, dumb, and blind. I don't know, but they're definitely mute. All right. And we're not hearing anything from any of the so-called black leaders. Rainbow Coalition got laryngitis. National Urban League missing in action. And why is it that they're not coming out and saying anything now? Well, that may have a lot to do with legal reasons and how they're advised by their lawyers, and they may not be able to profit off of it. Just like the media profits off of fanning the flames and exploiting when there's racial tension. And we discussed before in a previous episode, that's the only way or the only time that murder or violence is going to make it to national news or on a national level, is if there's the police are one race, and even if the police are one race and the perpetrator or the suspect is another, because black police officers shoot white people sometimes. We don't hear about that. And that's because the narrative is not being pushed out there that white people are victims. So that doesn't go with the narrative.
Piggyback
So,
saying, not hearing from other places, the Congressional Black Caucus, either they've been definitely silent. And also, to jump forward, black police officers, just like white police officers, just like Asian police officers in general, but black ones too, they're getting pushed back and getting mistreated and abused, and the protesters are pushing back on them. So I think it feels like it's definitely, there's a color piece, but it feels like it's gone past color, and they are just pushing back against police officers people in authority, people who are trying to keep the peace.
Yeah. And sometimes it's worse for the black officers. I'm sure you may have heard or seen video of the white women up in the faces of black police officers saying, "How can you wear that uniform? You're a disgrace to your people.
Goodness. Okay. I
Don't
haven't
you know
seen
what blacks are going through? What are you doing? Why don't you take off that badge?" But they don't understand. They have a brotherhood, and there's a community among police officers within their department, within their city, nationwide. If cops are 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles apart, they're looking at each other, they're hearing the stories of what they're going through, and they're reaching out to each other and they're extending their sympathy. And police officers know, black police officers know better than anyone else that systemic racism in the police department is a myth, because they came into the department with their fellow white officers through police academy and up through their career. And sometimes there is a problem where there are some racial Neanderthals that are in the department that do something or say something that's out of line, and that is dealt with in that department or in that precinct. But that goes on. If people just think and use common sense, they will know that statistically and with probability, black officers are going to get in a situation like officers of any race where they may need to use violence or may need to use their firearm. And when it comes to them defending themselves or defending someone else, in that split second, they usually don't have time to think about, well, what race are they? What race am I? Am I going to be suspended without pay? Is this going to go to national news? At that point, there are only people. There are innocent people and there are enemies, and they need to act.
and police officer again, regardless of where they are, what color they are, whatever. I know a
Mhm.
police officer is willing to stand between me and danger so I can go home at the end of the day. So I'm like that's a police officer that they're willing to not go home at the end of the day or willing to get hurt or whatever just to make sure that I'm okay. So I mean that's huge. That's a police officer. And you know, I I'm just kind of tired of them getting the brunt of all this. Just tired of it. Enough is enough, willing
Yeah.
to keep us safe every single day. And I wonder what happened. I don't know if you remember these, but I remember them. I think I was in the first, second, third, fourth grade, all that sort of stuff. There used to be these blue books called Officer Friendly, and I remember them really clearly. And you would color them in. They were coloring books, but they would teach you about the police officers and if you were in danger, especially as a little kid, you can go to a
Mhm.
police officer, tell them what's going on. They're trusted, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where are those books now?
They're banned.
Yeah,
Yeah,
who
we can't do that now. Yeah.
you know. So just enough is enough. It truly is.
So some people and some cities, they have to be like the prodigal son. They have to go all the way around the world and try everything to realize that they need to return to what they had or come back home to where they were. And what I mean is, you got different cities with ridiculousness talking about defunding the police or abolishing the police department. So some people, they have to go through the experience to see what happens on the other side, or to see what happens when they try these different experiences, so that they can then return to the traditional values that have worked in the past. So yeah, I understand. I would rather them go through that, because experience is a great teacher. History shows people what happens when you try this or try that. It's hard to argue with. I don't want that to happen in my city, but these other cities want to be the experiment. Hey, y'all go ahead and do it, because to me it's very predictable what will happen. But some people, especially people that don't know their history, or very young people that haven't lived that long, they don't know, and the younger people aren't very often getting older people or the next generation, 20, 25 years older, to talk to them and to tell them, well, this happened before. We felt this way at one time back in the 70s or the 80s. And we tried this, and let me tell you how that worked out. They don't have that. So many of them are making it up as they go. Kind of changing subjects, I wanted to talk about Epstein's girlfriend, right?
Mhm.
Uh, Jeffrey Epstein, is
Yeah,
that his name?
yeah.
And of course, he died in prison in a very suspicious way while he was awaiting trial.
Mhm.
And he died during a shift change, and while he was on suicide watch. And during that short window, the video surveillance camera stopped working, that kind of suspicious stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you heard anything else or heard anything new, but his girlfriend, she was recruiting underage girls to bring into his ring, or to bring down there to that island.
Oh God.
So she herself is facing jail time, but not only that, she can be a direct witness and implicate other people. So her life is in danger. And they show the outside of the building that she's in. And like I said, I don't want anything to happen to her. I want justice. And what I mean when I say that is I want people to go through the whole process of a trial, and for a full jury to decide whether they're guilty or not guilty, and for a judge to be present. So if she mysteriously hangs herself before all of that happens, justice is not going to get served. And I do want other things to come out and other people involved. And I hope that she has the liberty to speak and the freedom to bring out the other people that are involved.
I hope so too, because that whole incident, and I know folks were going around on social media, saying Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself and that sort of thing. That whole incident is just so vile, and it just seems to go deeper and deeper. Prominent people, um, um, famous people,
Yeah.
all involved in it, and no one said anything. That's what's so disgusting about it. It's like this was going on, and no one said a word. So I,
Yeah.
I question, yeah, how did they even find out that all this
Oh,
was
yeah.
going on?
The way that Epstein got caught or exposed, somebody started talking. This may have been out of the Me Too movement, or during that same time, or there was a thing going on with Weinstein in Hollywood,
Yes,
right?
yes,
With all the actresses, and he's in prison now. And I think that even though they're two different locations,
yeah,
that one just affected the other. And also, I think another thing is, man, the cult of personality is really something. We've seen that before in recent times, where someone's personality is so strong or so charming, and they themselves may really be a likable person. And everyone who's into this kind of thing isn't like Castro that was in Cleveland, a creepy looking dude.
yes,
you
yes,
know so some of them it comes in a package of being a gentleman, and a kind of person with a sense of humor, and all of this on the surface that is friendly, and then what's behind them is detestable.
yes.
So I think that's a big part of it too. He's a rich man. A lot of his friends were rich, and this had the mask or the appearance of something that's high society or just look very clean.
Hmm.
It looked very clean. So people are involved in a crime ring, a uh, um, criminal behavior, but they don't feel like it. They feel like they're a guest at an exotic resort,
Right.
hobnobbing with the rich and the hoi polloi, and you know all of that. And look what was actually going on.
Yeah. It's, and it makes you wonder because a lot of that was Hollywood. A lot of it was
Mhm.
political people.
Yeah,
A lot of it was Hollywood, from what I understand. So Hollywood is grimy, just to
yeah,
put it nicely. And that's why they call it Holly Weird, because it just
yeah,
absolutely is just disgusting.
yeah, yeah. It's amazing. So we'll keep our eyes and ears on that. I really think I would like to see her go into a building where there's only one jail, hers, one holding facility, not in a building with 50 other cells. That's really the best way to protect her.
It is. It is. And if she decides to spill the beans, which I hope she does, I hope she spills all of them.
Yeah.
Let's root it all out. Like you said, let's hope that she stays alive and for all that to happen.
Kamala Harris, her response to Trump saying that she's incompetent. And she is the running mate now. It's not Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren or anybody else. So that's where the direction is. That's where the focus is. So of course he's gonna say something about her, and he said the same thing about Obama. And I appreciate somebody talking to a person like a person. In other words, your race, your gender. I'm not going to go easy on you or be soft on you just because of that
Hmm.
or try to be politically correct. Look at the way that Trump was talking to Hillary when they were running the campaign and he was trying to get elected. He talked to Hillary like she was a man.
Yeah, yeah.
He didn't hold back. Like, listen, you're the nominee on the other side. I'm not going to be nice to you. I'm going to say whatever I want to say. And she just wasn't up to that. I noticed some politicians when they're asked a question that they don't have an answer for, or somebody makes a comment and they're caught off guard, they just start laughing, you know.
Hmm.
Like, I don't have an answer for that. Let me hurry up and think of something, you know. And that's what she would do a lot of times when Trump would say something about her. So this is what Kamala Harris should have said. She should have said, "What do you mean by that? I'm incompetent."
Hmm.
And let me give you a long list of reasons and proof that I am competent. Let me prove to you, and I know the whole country is listening to my response to you saying that I'm incompetent. Let me list the different ways that I am competent. But she didn't do any of that. She called Trump the same name that she called Biden, racist. So it's like that's a go-to response. You don't even mean that. You obviously there was some talk about this among some other guys, right? That a year ago, or a year ago, she was still running for president, and at least a year ago or around that time, she said that Biden was racist. But this year, recently, she accepted his choice to be his running mate. So it's like either you really don't believe he's racist and you just said that because you didn't have anything else to say, or you do believe he's racist, but hey, if you want to pay me a couple $100,000 a year, you can be racist. If it means that I'll be able to be vice president and travel and be in the spotlight, it's got to be one or the other.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it's such a childish response, and it's such a response of so many in the media and in politics say that with no explanation.
Mhm.
No explanation as to why. Now, her being, whether she's competent or incompetent, what does that have to do with her race?
Right.
And
Exactly.
is Trump being racist toward Indian people or the Jamaicans, or what is it? God, I mean, that's like, it's like, if you want to take a shortcut to thinking, pull a hard left and go straight into a brick wall, just call somebody a name, and that there was nothing else. There was nothing else about that. Nothing else after it.
That is so true. That's so true. But then that's all that they have. Again, they keep coming back to that.
Yeah,
They,
yeah,
that
right. They don't have any platform, so we come back to a popular name and get involved in name calling. Right.
they don't consider people outside of their color or gender or ethnicity or that sort of thing. If they it's discounting by her saying that, it's discounting her accomplishments. She's discounting her own accomplishments, like you said. It's
Right.
her
Right.
coming back and saying, I've done X, Y, and Z. I was the attorney general, or
Right.
in school, I did these things in school. She just hits back at him and says, it's becoming, it's like, you don't, so she's telling everybody that she thinks nothing more of herself than those features that she had nothing to do with
And telling the whole country, get ready, because if I get in there, that's going to be my go-to response.
every single time.
When somebody asks her about foreign policy and how she feels about talks with Israel or Iran, well, that's a racist question. You know,
Right. It's what?
Look, that's part of the game. Part of the game is that people get challenged, get put on the spot, or get accused of stuff, or whatever it is. Show some intelligence. So anyway, we got to move on. Also caught that there are 52 black-owned McDonald's franchises, or franchise owners rather,
Mhm.
that are suing McDonald's for $1 billion because they were told to close or to shut down. And
Okay.
they're saying the reason for that is racism. That McDonald's didn't want to see black owned McDonald's prosper and do well.
What? Okay.
Collectively $1 billion, because you add all them up nationwide, and so my first thing, if I own a franchise, like uh, back in the day when I lived in Detroit, there was a black man who owned a string of Burger Kings
Hmm.
called Brady Keys Burger Kings. It would have a flag on top of it with his name, and he was a successful entrepreneur, and he owned four or five of them in the city. But of course, it's under the name of Burger King. They decide what the menu is. You got to make the food a certain way. And if you're not up to our standard, we're going to shut you down. I mean, this happens to Subways or whatever kind of restaurant you can name. So, my first question is, the money that these black owned McDonald's made, don't they have to give a kickback to Ronald McDonald? I mean, doesn't he profit somewhat from using their name and selling Big Macs and everything else on their menu?
Yes, from what I understand, and I don't know how true, I think this is in general, each franchise pays a franchise fee, and of
Mhm.
course they pay an investment to be under the umbrella of that name and that brand. And I'm thinking that brand helps them advertise, obviously, so the
Right.
individual franchise doesn't have to advertise. And I'm trying to think what else. And I don't know that they give a piece of the profit back to the. I don't know that that happens, but I know the corporation, the brand itself, definitely helps the franchisee get going and advertising and marketing and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
the brand would certainly want to see the particular franchisees do well because, again, that's their brand.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that the brand would be out there sabotaging their
Right.
franchisees. That just makes no sense. That's not
Why
logical.
why not just stop them right at the beginning if there's some kind of a racism conspiracy where they don't want them to make money? Why even let them set up? But I can tell you a couple things about McDonald's in particular. One thing about them is they own the ground and the real estate where they set up, where they build. And this is most of the fast food restaurants that you see don't own that. They're paying rent on a lot, and you've seen different or other fast food restaurants tear down or move.
Mm-hmm.
But McDonald's, they own that land. When they get in, they really get in.
Yeah.
And uh, for the black owned franchises or white or Asian McDonald's or whoever owns them, there's like a scientific research done of statistics and crime in that area within a mile or two, and to look at business, what the competition is. It's no coincidence that they will set up across the street from one or two other fast food restaurants. So this is what McDonald's is probably going to do if this goes to court, or what their lawyers are going to do is they're going to have a long list of white owned franchises or franchises owned by other races that they told to shut down after seeing that they were losing money. Now, if you're in an area that's run down or becoming run down, or crime is getting higher, or other factors are in place that are causing you to lose money, then they may shut you down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not personal, it's business.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean,
Or they may be hoping to settle out of court, you know, because nobody wants to be accused of being a racist. So maybe they got together and said, "Hey, we're gonna do this. We're gonna file this suit, and we're all in this together. We're banding together, and we're in agreement on it. And hopefully, hopefully, before it goes to court, they can just pay us off, and then we don't have to go through this long class action suit or whatever kind of a suit it is." And I don't think that McDonald's should do that, because to me, whenever you settle out of court, that's an admission of guilt. And you think that as a company or as an individual, that if it went to trial, that things will be worse for you, that things will come out that you don't want to come out, or that you would end up paying more money.
yeah, I just don't. Yeah, that's uh, there are motivations for doing this that it's not. It's something else that McDonald's told them to close down. When McDonald's is, like you said, they own the ground that the restaurant sits on. They don't want to have to
Mhm.
suffer the damage that would have been caused in those areas that are particularly vulnerable to protesting, rioting, all that sort of stuff, just like the Wendy's that
Sure.
happened in downtown Atlanta. So I question what the true agenda is. I mean, it seems like if they're truly entrepreneurs and they're trying to make this thing work, then they'd want to make it work. Why would you bog yourself down in a suit because the owner of the brand told you to close down to protect not only your investment but theirs as well. Just doesn't make sense.
And you mentioned something a few minutes ago about advertising and the owner advertising for them. So they're getting business just off of the name, just by
Yes.
putting the golden arches up on the front of the store or putting the sign up. They're getting advertised without them spending anything on it, which they would have to do if they had their own business
True.
that was unknown or unheard of.
Hmm.
So why not say, okay, this is the way it is. They chose to shut down. Thank you. Thank you for believing in me enough to let me open up in your name and put your reputation on the line. While
Yes.
I worked this business or owned this franchise, I saved some money and now I'm going to start my own my own chain of stores, McDougal's or whatever it is.
You're right.
Now I'm gonna do a store, two all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, but no sesame seeds. But so of course, they you never. That's too similar. We're referring to, or I'm referring to, coming to America. But if you really have the mind of a businessman or a businesswoman, and you are made for the restaurant business and you know what you're doing, you can start your own, or what's to stop them from getting a Popeyes chicken franchise or doing something else? If it's really important that they work under someone else's name and they don't have to do that advertising and they just start to get traffic from day one. If
Right.
that's really what they want, is so many other options that they can do.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. That's going to be interesting to follow that to see where that lands.
Yeah, yeah.
That's I don't understand that.
To jump out, just I have one story in ridiculousness, and this was a while back, but I don't know if you ever heard of it, and I never forgot this. This is at either Disney World or Disneyland, and this man, a black man, was suing Disney because Goofy did not put his arm around his child when they were taking a picture.
You're kidding. No, seriously.
I'm not making this up. So when I say Goofy, I'm talking about
The
a man, a person, of course, in a goofy suit and an
yeah.
outfit, with it 100 degrees outside. At least in Orlando, which is Disney World. I don't know about Disneyland, but it can get hot. And they interviewed him. These are the words he said. He said, "My child was traumatized by Goofy not putting his arm around him when the picture was taken."
Oh my gosh. We could just do a whole show on just ridiculous lawsuits.
Now, this kid who's 6 or 7 years old, if you listen to his father, you're gonna think he's gonna have behavioral problems and emotional issues. By the time he gets in high school, he's not gonna ever be able to go to a theme park again, because it'll bring back bad memories and nightmares. And they said, or he said, well, the last picture he took, or last couple of pictures, which were white families, he put his arm around them. Look, we're all in a picture. We're all standing next to each other. Every time I take a group picture, I'm not hugging up on somebody, and I know the people. And I'm not always putting my arm around someone. Like I need Goofy's big basketball sized glove hanging over my shoulder and down, patting me on the chest while pictures being taken.
Come on. Seriously.
And I know this isn't the first time this has happened. This must have happened at least 100 times, depending on what kind of day they're having. Why doesn't somebody ask Goofy or Daisy Duck or Mickey how they feel? How are you doing today? How are things going on the inside of that suit? But you never heard anything like this 25, 30, 40 years ago.
Wow.
Which racism was supposed to be worse back then, but
Yeah.
it's so petty. And like I've said, I like my racism blatant. Please make it obvious so that I can at least know what it is I'm supposed to be offended about.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I mean, seriously, this is what wow.
Sign of the times.
It truly is. My goodness.
You know that on the late night TV shows like um, Corbett, uh, Corchin, what's his name, the British guy, the heavy set British dude, and you got Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Fallon. Everybody, or a lot of times, they're at home. They turn their house into a studio because they're not meeting in front of an audience. So this was on. I think this was on Jimmy Kimmel, I believe. And Kerry Washington was on there, and she was using Skype or something like Skype,
Okay.
talking to children in their homes. So I think Kerry Washington was in her house.
Okay.
So she's asking them questions about politics and about the president. It's the kind of thing where children say the darndest things, or where they really don't know how things work. So one question was, what do you have to do to be president? And this boy said, you have to pay $50,000.
That's cute.
So they're asking them questions like that, and how they think things work. And so this girl was asked, like, what do you think the job is of the president? And she said something to the extent of to be to be over the whole country, which is actually, there's a lot of truth to that. The
Yeah.
most power of any single person, even
Yes.
though they have a co-equal power with Congress.
Right.
Okay, so she said to be the king of everyone, or to be in charge of the whole country. Kerry Washington in her home, she looks at the camera sideways and smiles and goes, "You mean kind of authoritarian? Like, what are you doing?"
What? Really?
Because people have called Trump authoritarian or a
Uh,
dictator. Now you're really talking to the audience, not talking to the girl.
right.
She doesn't know what that word means,
Exactly.
and
Really? Can we leave the kids out of it? Can they just be kids? Just
let's right that whole segment, right? That whole segment, those few minutes were they were the star for us to listen to what they have to say and to laugh at them. But here she comes with a side note of indoctrination, and this guy is a dictator, or this is what you really mean, isn't it? That's
Oh gosh. Everything is not political.
Right, right. It
Everything.
is not. I mean, right now everything is made to be.
Hmm.
Phew, boy.
Wow.
Yeah, we got so much. They keep giving us so much material. This is going to be spillover to the next episode. Anyway, I just noticed that and it made me shake my head. All right, here's a big thing. You may have heard about this this week. Nancy Pelosi says that we should cancel the debates between Biden and Trump. There shouldn't be any debates.
Well, did she say this before or after she got out of her hairdressing appointment?
Oh, this was. Oh, let's see, because that just happened. No, this was after. This was after.
After, okay.
Yeah.
After she came out of the hairdresser. That's true, because she had to look good to, you know, to, to the peasants, to us peasants.
Without a mask on. Yeah, I
Without a
think that's
mask
right.
on and had her have her hair done when no one else can.
But this was like on a stage somewhere where she looked like she was giving a press conference, and this is one of those things. What presidential candidate doesn't want there to be a debate?
Right.
Now, the first thing is she would have never made that statement unless she checked with Biden first, because she doesn't want to say anything that contradicts or goes against him.
Right.
All right. So she wants to make sure that they're on the same page and that she's on the same page with the Democrat Party. Biden wasn't going to come out and say that because that would make him look weak or make him look weaker. So they send Nancy Feeble up there to say, I don't think that anyone should engage with Donald Trump and give him the honor of debating with him about anything.
What?
When have you ever seen, not just in our lifetimes, in our parents, when on either side the candidate didn't want to have a debate? That's the time when you show your stuff and you tell the country what you're going to do.
Exactly. That's your time to shine and be front and center and show the country why you are the person for this particular job. But if he's running from a debate and let me just call it what it is, hiding behind Nancy's skirt
Uh,
from a debate, then how does he think he is ready to be president of the United States?
Inger, when I heard this, I was godsmacked. Literally, I felt like God sucker punched me, and I still haven't come out of it yet. Like what kind of? I mean, we already know that he's hiding, and we know that Trump would kill him in a debate. Now Nancy just confirmed it.
Goodness.
Boy, I'm telling all of this is pre-planned. You know, they know that he's not up to it. He had a gaffe the other day where somebody just asked him a question, and the answer was on a teleprompter, but it wasn't coming up. So just had to wait an extra 5 or 10 seconds for that to come up because he can't think about the truth or about what he thinks people want to hear until the teleprompter tells him what to tells him what to say.
Man.
I mean, they're trying to lose. I don't know if the debates are called off, if all the debates are called off and none of them happens, they can forget about it. You think that Obama beat McCain bad? This would really be this would really be the worst. And then all Trump has to do is say, "Look, see, you see this?
Yeah.
This guy refuses to debate me."
Hmm. That's it. That is it. I mean, and I just, it makes no sense. And like we said before, the guy truly is suffering from mental health issues. I mean, it's sad. It really is. And he, he is not ready and cannot handle the job of president of the United States, leader of the free world.
I would rather he come out in the open and be honest and say, look, we have decided as a party that we're going to pass the nation, or I'm sorry, we're going to pass the nomination, not the nation, not the country. We're going to pass the nomination on to Harris and let her take it. Let
Right.
her take it because I'm not able to go on. And we don't know. We're not his doctor. We don't know exactly what stage he's in. But we want you to be ready to preside from day one
Yes.
because other countries are going to test you. There's always a president getting blindsided by something that you didn't see coming, and
Mhm.
we want whoever's going to be there to be ready to go.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, just be hit. You literally have to hit the ground running.
Yeah,
Literally.
yeah,
Yeah. And he just cannot do it. And the folks, they're lying to him. They're not being honest with him, and it may be part of his arrogance or whatever that he, just stop it. Just sit the man down and just tell him you can't do it at all. I mean, my
yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, I think that when he started or at the beginning, he was in it and he wanted to do it, and then he started having issues in the last year to year and a half, and then he was already, too far into it. And then what ended up happening is he got more delegates, got more people than anyone else because people know him as vice president.
Right.
Not because of anything he did. Obama made him famous,
That's true. That's true.
and that's it. Not like I don't know if this is a scenario that I gave you. I don't know if I asked you about if you had a choice between Bloomberg and Buttigieg or Bloomberg and Biden, but I would definitely feel more comfortable with Bloomberg being in there. At least a guy who understands the economy. I'm saying if it were between the two of them, you
Right.
know.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
But they look at numbers. That's kind of a bottom line, and that matters. And Bloomberg's numbers weren't up there. We know that Kamala Harris dropped out because her campaign fund went broke,
Hmm.
which that definitely isn't the reason Bloomberg dropped out. That wasn't a problem for him.
No, it was not. And I think he was pushed out. I mean,
Yeah, no, basically, in kind of the same way that Bernie was when he was running for the nomination with Hillary.
yes, yes.
Yeah, they attacked him like a pack of dogs in an alley, cornered. They came at him and man, politics really, really can be dirty.
Yes, it can. My goodness. And there was early on, and he did not make it to the debates or anything like that. But
Yeah.
early on, the president or CEO or owner or whatever of Starbucks put his hat in the ring. He mentioned he wanted to run and that sort of thing, and he had a better business head than even Bloomberg. But
Mhm.
he was poo-pooed down, man, early on. They'd shot him down, and that was the end of that.
Yeah, he may have tried to get in too late
Well,
and
he was early, as a matter of
oh,
fact.
was he?
He
Okay.
was. He was early. He was before. I'm trying to think who first announced. I cannot remember who first announced, but he was one of the first. I think when people still thought that Hillary might throw her hat back in the ring, he
Hmm.
mentioned that he wanted to do it, but that was shot down and he was told to go away. I think.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, it's definitely politics is an interesting game, most certainly. Um,
I saw Bloomberg in the news within the last week. This was on the local news, like 11 Alive or Fox 5, but just on the local news. And they were talking about how he donated money
Mm-hmm.
to black medical students.
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
don't think it was any particular school, but somehow they got a system and they tallied how many and where uh, black students of medical school where they were going to medical school, like he would pay their first year's tuition.
Wow.
And
Okay.
they interviewed a couple young black women real quick. And then they showed Bloomberg. Before he spoke, I said, okay, well that's cool. That's
Yeah.
a good thing. Just looking at it as medical students, they have less of a loan or less money that they have to pay back or less that they have to worry about in paying their tuition.
Yes.
So then they show Bloomberg and he says more black doctors means more black lives saved.
Oh gosh.
Hey, wait. What are we talking about? Are we going back to the days of Dr. Charles Drew when we got black hospitals and white hospitals?
Oh gosh.
Black doctors have all kind of patients.
Thank you. Oh
Like
my
like like black people only go to black doctors.
man. Seriously.
Look, when I get my new health insurance plan or whatever, if I switch providers and I'm going through looking at the network of doctors, I want a good doctor. I'm not checking their race.
Thank you. And they
Okay?
take the Hippocratic oath, if I'm not mistaken, to do no harm and all of that. The whole process when they become officially a doctor, they don't care about color either. They're just
Right,
trying to
right,
save lives. Good
right,
grief.
right. So I don't think anybody cares about that. I've been to doctors that are, many different races. I want a good doctor because I don't want to get in an examination room with a black doctor and then he's terrible the way that he's treating me or administering medicine or the advice that he's giving. That's not going to serve me.
No.
So, I think he wanted to say something or even do something. Like, why is he now doing this? And he said something that was similar to or sounded like Black Lives Matter. Like, see, look at me. You can trust me. I'm not running for office anymore. I care about Black lives. That's a popular thing in 2020.
Goodness.
You
There.
know, like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, Mike. I just thought you wanted to help out some medical students. Now I'm thinking you're trying to get some sponsors for the Bloomberg media, for the network.
Hmm.
You need some sponsors, you need some advertisers, people to subscribe to you and switch over because now they got that feel good thing about you helping out black people.
Right. It's like it's oh my word. I was listening to somebody earlier this week, and I can't remember who it is, but it's like these places like Bloomberg and all of these companies
Reuters.
on this, yeah, Roy, all of them, they think social media is real life, and they think that is the pulse of America. No, it isn't.
Right. Right. The barometer of how everyone's talking and how we feel.
Right. It's not. It's like, and so why Bloomberg feels he has to jump on this bandwagon, and it is a bandwagon, that's all it is, to just do this. If he wants to help, just say, I'm going to give money to black people who are trying to become
Yeah.
doctors. That's admirable. That's admirable. And just leave it at that.
Just
Just,
stop
just,
right
just
there.
right there. Just, leave them wanting more. Isn't that always the showbiz thing? Just
Yeah.
stop. If that's what you want to do, just say, I'm going to do it. And then be quiet.
Yeah. They could start a new app called TMTOH. Too much time on your hands.
Right.
Because most of the people on social media I'm talking about that are grinding on there for a few hours every day,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if they're working. I know that people that are in high school or part time in college, They don't have the schedule of someone who would be working part-time or working and going to school.
Right.
But you would think, or some people may think, well, this is the spirit and the talk among people now. No, some people, they just try to keep their head down without getting hit like whack-a-mole, and then go on with their day and working what they're doing, and they actually do their talking and socializing with the actual people that are in front of them.
Yes, they do. Absolutely. Everyone is not on social media. A lot of folks don't even want to be there, have no desire to be on social media. And they're not even being heard. Like you said, they just want to
Yeah.
keep their head down, get their work done, do what they need to do. And at the end of the day, go home. you know?
Right. And I mean, I get on Facebook and some other things, but uh it may be once or twice a week.
Right.
I mean, I have a full-time gig outside of this, and this involves a lot of preparation or administrative work. And then a lot of it is related to the podcast,
Hmm.
with researching or checking out and following different political Twitter accounts, or trying to see videos of what's going on. But I never been a person that put a lot of time into it.
Exactly. And I know I'm on there a lot less because of other commitments that I have as well.
Mm.
And and just a little tip for the folks before we launch into your final thoughts and what to look forward to is if you really want to kind of slow down a little bit, you can turn off the notifications on on your phone for Facebook sometimes. That really helps. You
Yeah.
can stay on Facebook, but you can turn off the notifications so you can it's not constantly beeping at you all the time. You can-
Right. It can be distracting.
it can be very distracting.
For me myself, when I first get up, for me,
Mhm.
the first thing I'm gonna do is get something to eat, and I really want to read the Bible. I get in devotion time because I'm a Christian, so that is something I want to make sure happens. And the best way to do that is to put it first, or make it one of the first things I do. And then I don't even have the network on my phone until after I finish the time I'm going to spend reading the Bible, because I don't want anything to distract me.
Absolutely.
And then I can jump in and maybe see what's going on.
For those impacted by 9/11, I know that's
Hmm.
always a somber anniversary for us. We hope you guys were praying for you. It still impacts the United States in a big way, and it's just something like they say we should never
Yeah.
forget, and always honor those people who died in those horrible attacks, in those horrible um, terrorist attacks. So yeah.
What do you say to people who say that Democrat mayors can't do their job because they're not getting the funding from Republican governors? That's a question we're gonna ask. I want you to give your opinion about that, and just to put that out there for people to think about, because I've heard a lot of people say that, and I think that there's some insight that we can give on that can help people.
Gotcha. Well, we will look forward to it next time. And if there's a topic you'd like us to cover, reach out to us at bruthonest@gmail.com. That's BRUT honest radio@gmail.com. And leave a review for us wherever you listen to this podcast. And we appreciate you listening, and we'd love to join you next time.
All right. Thanks for checking us out. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you for listening to Brutally Honest Talk Radio. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover, reach out at brutehonestradio@gmail.com. That's BRUT, honestradio at gmail.com.